Yo, you don't know the true definition of generational wealth. Now, of course, I'm going to dive into it, right? So, I'm going to dive into it right now. So, generational wealth. A lot of people like to throw this word around like, yeah, I'm after generational wealth. I want generational wealth, this and that. But a theory that I had recently was like, yo, I don't think most people genuinely know what generational wealth is because a lot of people, that wealth disappears in the third generation, right? And this is going to be a little bit of a deep topic. I don't know how long this video is going to be. I don't plan on it being too long, but if we go long, we go long, right? And for any of you that are, this is your first time watching one of my videos, you can play it at 2x speed if you want. And for those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Duno Clenor, and I'm just here to help winners win, right? So if you're a winner, that means you hate losing. Winners focus on elevating their lives and want to become more financially free. So if that's you, continue watching. And I'd also like to go over what's called the gentleman's agreement. So if you've watched 2 or more of my videos, for those of you that have been on the channel, then and you are enjoying the content, then please subscribe. So let's get back to the main topic of this video. So you don't know the true definition of generational wealth. It's not something that comes easy. It's actually something that takes a tremendous amount of work. And so if you're lazy already, then stop dreaming about generational wealth, right? And this is more or less a conversation not just for someone who wants to have families, but someone who wants to have long families, large families, right? And even me right now, I have a pretty large family, right? I'll say large. I know there are people out there with larger families, right? So my grandma on my dad's side and her husband, right, my grandpa, they had 9 kids, right? So my dad has 4 brothers and 4 sisters. Now, my grandpa on his side, on my dad's side, my grandpa, he also had kids without my grandma. So he has, my brother has a few my dad has a few stepbrothers and stepsisters, right? I don't know all of them. I only know one. And my mom, she has only one brother, right? So that's about the size of my family. And now each of those kids, right? So each of their siblings and step siblings, they have at least 2 to 3 kids, right? So that's a pretty large family, right? And now my grandma, she's not only a great grandma, she's a great great grandma, and I think she's a great 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 grandma. I think, right? I'm not 100% sure on that. So I have a pretty large family already. Now, if we all were to put our heads together and build something, yeah, of course, we would have a pretty large family, and over time we'd have a lot of wealth as a family. And then over time, as long as the right things are instilled in the kids, in the kids kids, in the kids, right, then that starts to really build a generational wealth of empire or something, right? Plenty of times I hear about other creators, other content creators, other influencers, other business people talk about, like Alex Ramosi, for example. Oh, my great 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 grandpa or whatever, he's like 5 generations, the wealth is gone. He used to be a ruler of something, but 5 generations later, it's gone, and we don't even really remember his name. And I was like, there's a reason for that. It's because he didn't instill the right things, the right mindset, the right values, etc., for the wealth to stay in the family. So it's not supposed to disappear after 3 generations, because there are countless families out there whose wealth have stood by for countless generations. There's a reason why, right? There's a reason why. So just like you have, and here's my theory. You might think I'm a little crazy, but if you hear me out, you might understand it. So just like you guys see, there's a Bible, there's the Quran, if I'm saying that right, for Islam, and just like the Jews, they have their book. I don't remember the exact name. I don't want to mess it up. And every other religion, they'll have a book. I believe that a lot of these, generational wealth or generational large, extremely large families who are still ruling today, who still have a lot of wealth and power today, they have a book for their family. Now, it might not be a book, but they have a certain thing that they have for each other. And it's not some secret or something like that. That's not what I'm getting into. But what I'm saying here is there's certain mindsets that they teach their kids. There's certain things that they pass down. They don't just pass money down. There are certain mindsets that they pass down. There are certain things that they will not let their kids do or their kids get into. And then they pass down those same values, mindsets, principles, whatever it may be, to their kids' kids. And next thing you know, the wealth is still there 100 years later, 200 years later, 300 years later, 400 years later, 500 years later. There's a reason that happens. It's not just, oh, they stole a bunch of gold, or they did this, or they have a lot of oil, or whatever you want to put around it. It's because they instilled the right mindsets, and they instilled the right values. And it took, majority of the time, it took one person from the family to completely change the direction of the family, positive or negative. Right? A lot of families that don't have the wealth, it's because it took one person to ruin it, right? And now the generational wealth is gone, right? It took one family or one person or a group of them that messed it up, and now it's, they don't have that generational wealth anymore. Now, of course, times change, right? Seasons change, money changes over time. What we consider as wealth or whatever will change over time. But that's why you have the right values instilled in your family, so that those people can still react whatever changes, right? Like, inflation, blah blah blah, this and that. They still know how to react in order to keep the family wealth, to keep the family name going. A lot of it starts with ego, right? Like me, who wants generational wealth, I don't just want generational wealth because I want generational wealth, but I want the name to mean something, the family name. And some people could say it means something, but I want this to be long lasting, even when and it's not about me, right? It's about the family name, right? What does your last name mean to you, right? And so whether it's me, whether it's my siblings, whether it's my cousins, because I have a lot of cousins, right? And they each want different things. Some of them want to be pro athletes. Some of them want to be music artists. Some of them want to be gamers. Some of them want to, like, as I speak to them, a lot of my cousins, they want different things, and that's fine. And I also understand that it does take one person in the family to bring everybody together. Even my auntie on my dad's side, so she's my dad's sister. She's talked about it so many times. She's like, why doesn't the family just come together? We put our heads together and we do something together, right? And we make money together. And believe it or not, a lot of times it's the women that keep everything apart. Not her particularly, but let's say a lot of my dad's brothers, their wives, they don't get along. They don't agree with each other. And so what happens? Well, guess what? They keep each other apart, so they keep the brothers from actually working together, right? A lot of times it's women that get in the way, believe it or not, right? Whether you agree, whether you disagree, a lot of times it's women that will get in the way of men coming together to make something big happen, right? One of them, they let their wives. I'm not saying this is them, but I'm saying, like, a lot of men, their women control them, and so when their women control them, they don't make the right decisions for the family. They don't make the right decisions for their bloodline to continue and to continue in the right direction. And then it also comes down to, how many kids are you having? This is a deep conversation. Like I said, how many kids are you having? How many kids do you plan to have? I plan to have a lot of kids, not because of other people's thoughts. It's literally, ever since I was a kid, I always thought about having a lot of kids. But I know I need to have at least one kid carrying my name, like, Duno C. Clenor Jr., right? Like, that's something I always wanted for some reason. I don't know why. But I always wanted a son that has the same name as me, right? And, before I continue, I like to talk about the outfit. So today I'm giving you guys a little bit of a gray on gray. To do a gray on gray, it really has to really go well, because you can't always do it unless you have the right types of gray, the right shades of gray, right? If this was like a little bit lighter, it might look okay, but it wouldn't really match. Then, I've got this dark navy bluish green pocket square. We've got the black face watch with the black leather, and then the pants, you could wear black, you could wear gray, you could wear dark gray, you could wear a dark silver gray, you could wear navy blue, you could wear a few different colors to make this outfit look really, really sharp. You could wear like a dark green, even a darkish red, depending on the shade of red. But yeah, so let's continue. So a big portion of generational wealth comes from the right mindset and passing that mindset down. So me wanting a lot of kids, like, my grandma had 9 kids, right? So maybe I beat her record, right? Maybe, who knows, right? I don't know what direction I'm gonna be going in with that. And some people will say it's a discussion between you and the woman and this and that. But I think 5 kids minimum is a necessity, as long as you're someone who's after generational wealth. And I get this from Patrick Bet-David. And the reason you want to shoot for 5 is because if one of them chooses not to go in the right path, or one of them chooses to do drugs, you could instill the right mindsets and the right values into kids, right? And some of you may be like, oh, you're 22, like, why are you talking about having kids? Well, look, a lot of people have kids at this age and younger, right? So It's not about being old enough to have kids or being old enough to have this conversation. If you're mature enough, you can have this conversation. I've been mature for a pretty young age. Like, I've always had adult conversations since I was like middle school, right? Like, I don't know why. I've just had these adult conversations, and I've always, a lot of my mentors and coaches are a lot older than me, because why not? They experience life. But going back to the topic of 5 kids, right? If one of them, let's say you have 5, if you have only one, if they choose to do something wrong, it's done, right? Like, and by wrong, I mean maybe they commit a crime, maybe they get into drugs, maybe they get into just something, and it spoils the family name, spoils the family wealth, right? You can't really pass it down to them because they're not smart enough, or then, they're just not the one you want to pass it down to. So let's say you have 2 kids. Well, one of them could persuade each other into doing something wrong. And, if the other one doesn't really know how to argue against it, well, now you just lost both your kids. So if you have 3, they could have some discussions, right? At least one of them will not always agree with the other 2. If you have 4, now you could have, you're starting to have a good chance of 2 of them being good and 2 of them being bad. Now, if you have 5, regardless what happens, at least one of them should really listen to you and want to follow in your footsteps, right? I heard this thing before where it's like, kids don't always follow into the steps of their parents. But I think it depends on how many kids you have, because, my dad does construction. I don't really want to do construction, but not in the same way that he does construction, right? I do plan to have a construction company. Maybe I'm not the one running it, but I want to have the capital to allow some people in my family to be able to do it and to back them, to allow them to build that business, right? I've thought about so many different ways for my entire family to come together, but I also understand it takes the right type of leader to bring everybody together. And I also understand that that leader needs to be respectable financially, not just, oh yeah, I have an idea and this and that, let's do it. No, having the money will bring a different type of respect. And it also brings a different type of, yo, I want to listen to this guy because he has the money, and I want to make money too. I want to get rich too. I want to get wealthy too. And so when you're there and you have that sort of respect, you have that sort of capital, now you can start to lead your team, or you lead your family members that are on the same page. I have a lot of cousins. They all aren't probably going to want to do it. But if they all do want to do it, or a majority of them want to do it, or even my siblings, it's like, okay, this is the plan. This is how we're going to grow not only the family name, but this is how we're going to grow all of our wealth together, whether it's doing business together, or whether we have one company or multiple companies. Or if I help you in this career, like, yo, you want to be a pro athlete, and I help you become a pro athlete. And then we have certain contracts where the contract isn't you pay me back. No, look, this money is the family's money, right? Or if, oh, you want to be a musician, a music artist, I got you. You made it. Now look, a portion of the money that you're making needs to come back to the family, right? For those of you, not everybody, if you're still watching this video, for those of you that do want to genuinely have generational wealth, this is how you need to start to think. And it's not thinking about this when you're 30, when you're 40, because by that time, depending on the relationship with your siblings, depending on the relationship, even if you have no siblings, depending on the relationship with the rest of your family, some of you are probably going to be starting from absolute scratch. You don't have any family. You're just you're a single child, right? You don't really have siblings. You don't really have cousins. So, of course, your job is going to be different. But guess what? That job is starting with you, right? How many kids are you going to have, right? And then if you do have those kids, what types of values are you going to instill in them so that when they have kids, they can instill those same values, right? Are you going to have a family guidebook, right? I personally believe that a lot of these massive families, they do have a family guidebook. It may not be a physical book, but it might be something that is spoken, right? Right. I'm sure you guys have seen some movies where it's like, our great great grandfather founded this building or this mansion, so we're never going to sell it. And then this is how he built the kingdom. This is how he built the story. This is how he became a king. All these things, they play a major role for those of you that are truly, genuinely after generational wealth, right? It's not for everybody. This isn't for everybody. A lot of you watching this video probably just want to make a few $1,000s to take care of your bills and just live a comfortable life. But for those of you that are watching that do genuinely care about generational wealth, and it's not just, I want generational wealth because it sounds nice. No, you are genuinely focused on making sure that your bloodline, your family, the rest of your family not only never has to worry about another dollar in their lives, but the money is being stretched. The family name is growing. The kingdom, the empire is growing. How do you think kings built empires back then? You think they just fought and stole gold? Like, you think that's what they did? No. And how do you think they kept that lineage going for years? They had certain values instilled. And it's more majority of the time it's instilled at a young age, and they also have lots of kids. That's a huge part of a majority of this, having a good number of kids and then instilling the right values. And if one of the kids wants to do something else, you just cut them off. That's it. Oh, you want to play with the family name? Okay, you're no longer a part of the family. You have to be ruthless in that way too. I know this is a deep conversation for some of you, but you will have to be ruthless if one of your kids chooses not to do good, or they commit crimes, or they do drugs. Like, I think there's a reason why a lot of the what is it called, conditional love is really from your mom, because a mother is like, a lot of times, not every mother, I'm not going to say every mother, but there are mothers out there, no matter what their child does, drugs, crime, murder, whatever it is, they will still defend that child. They will defend, and they will make up, they'll do whatever, they'll say whatever they need to say to themselves about the kid so that they still love their kid. And I get that. I'm not against that. I'm not going to say mothers shouldn't do that, because I understand that, yeah, a lot of that conditional love comes from your mom because she had you. But that's where the man's job is there to, like, look, we have to cut this kid off. This one is hurting the family name. This one is hurting the family. This one is, is staining the family. This one is going to ruin everything else for everybody else in the family. Why do you think there are those, I know I'm using movie examples, there's crime families, there's crime, you have to cut the family, what's a good example? There's plants where once one of the seeds is bad, or one of the plants is bad, it'll ruin the whole crop. You put a sick dog in the middle of a healthy crop, a lot of times the dog will become healthy. But if you put a healthy dog in a crop of bad dogs, well, guess what? That healthy dog is going to eventually become sick. And a lot of times that happens. You gotta really, I know for some people watching this video, it's like, what are you talking about? You're crazy. But I also know for some of you watching this video, you're like, yo, this makes so much sense. Because generational wealth is something important. It's something powerful. It's something that requires a tremendous amount of energy being spent. Right? What do I say in a lot of my videos? Doing anything great requires a tremendous amount of energy being spent. Doing anything powerful requires a tremendous amount of energy being spent. Doing anything worth remembering requires a lot of energy being spent, regardless of or not whether my family remembers my name, my bloodline remembers my name, etc. That's not the important part. What's important is, 100 years from now, 500 years from now, if we're in space, if we're like living a Star Wars life, that the family name is still there. It still exists. The family wealth is still there. It still exists. Right? I don't get along with everybody in my family, but I also understand I got to put my ego aside at some point, or I got to put everything on the line at some point to ensure that we come together one way or another. And those that don't want to be a part of it, that's fine. They're allowed to walk away. But it's not about like coming back later. It's like, for some of you might not agree with this example. Look at Tate. Him and his brother, they're building something massive. But their sister is not a part of it, but they still take care of her. That's how it is. A lot of times, like, family doesn't always get along, but when they do, they build great things. And so generational wealth is more than just you wanting to build a generational wealth. If you have a decent sized family, you probably have cousins that you don't even know about. I have cousins that I don't think I've spoken to. I have cousins that I haven't even really met. And so I understand that me having a massive family already puts me in a better position because, sure, my grandparents were just having kids, right? But that's a position that I'm in that allows me to massively increase the generational wealth, right? Like my dad, he's the second oldest son, but he's the third child, because there's a daughter in between him and the first son. The others look up to him. The others ask him, not all the time, but they ask him for advice. They ask him for money. They ask him for this and that, even though he's not wealthy, but they still come to him when they need stuff. And so, that's there. That's already a position that he's in of leadership, of importance, right? Even though it's not massive, he's not a millionaire, but even now he's getting into real estate. He's doing these things to build him because he's, I always say this, me and him are the same person. It's just different generations. He's an entrepreneur just like me. He has that mindset of I need to get things done. Like he's always been that way. Me and him are the same, just different generation. Like, I was extremely smart in school. I just chose not to. Like, I stopped caring about school. If I wanted to, I could have had the best grades, blah blah blah. But I stopped caring about school because I understand that it wasn't for me. This path is not the path that I was looking for. So I just stopped caring about school, and I legit right away started focusing on business. Started learning different things, started learning different skills, started trying different businesses, practicing different things. And that's why I'm able to share so many things with you guys now. A lot of this stuff that you hear online, generational wealth, generational this, you should be building this, build your legacy, build your generational wealth. You should be pursuing generational wealth, this and that. Like, listen, it's not how they make it seem. And a lot of those people that talk about it, they're not really building generational wealth. They're building money. They might have a couple million. Generational wealth is more than a couple million. And it might not be me who touches a billion, right? I'm a wink because, it might not be me who touches a billion. But if my son touches a billion, that's great. That's good news. If my cousin touches a billion, that's great. That's good news. It's, as long as we're still like a family together. Because look at Trump, right? Some of you might be, not fans of Trump, but look at him. He brought his family to billions. It wasn't his dad. A lot of people, oh yeah, his dad gave him a loan. Okay. He could have lost that money, but he turned it into billions. And what do you think? You think his kids are probably not going to take to the next level and keep pushing and keep building the family name? If you truly care about generational wealth and it's something that really matters to you, these are the things you will be thinking about. These are the things you will need to start thinking about. And a lot of times these massive families, they don't do it alone. They have connections with other families. They build alliances with other families. You think a lot of these, the other day I saw that to manage an oil rig or one of those oil rigs, it's $750 million being spent every day to maintain an oil rig. Think about that. You think one family manages it or one company manages it? No. There's an alliance that, we own these oil rigs and we're going to keep owning these oil rigs as a family or as a unit or as an alliance or as a contract. All of this stuff is important to start to look. These are things that I'm constantly thinking about, constantly looking into, because I'm not just trying to build something small. I know that I am extremely ambitious and I am after a lot of things. Right? And I saw the other day somebody was like, you need to practice contentedness. You need to be more content. Like, whatever. Like, that's not going to happen for me. It's not my, maybe at some point in the future I'll think about it. But I'm in a phase where I'm building. And I'm building and I'm going to continue to build. I won't stop building. Because it's needed. It's important. It's not just about me. It's about my bloodline. Literally, I care about my last name. I've always cared about my last name. Sometimes my parents questioned it. My dad's like, you're embarrassing the family, this and that. Do you know what your last name means? Like, even my dad, he was like, when I gave all three of you your names, it's because I already thought about your names being great. So if you had doctor in front of your name or you had something in front of your name, it sounds good. It sounds nice. It sounds great. It sounds excellent. So my dad was already thinking like that. And I think the same way. I'm after the same things. Like, it may be at a different level. It may be at a different stature or whatever the right word is. But I understand that it's necessary. And it's absolutely necessary. And, for those of you that genuinely care about generational wealth, don't take that word lightly. It's an important thing. It's a massive step. And if you're the first step in your family, I don't think I'm the first step in my family. Maybe my grandpa on my dad's side was thinking the same way. I need to have lots of kids. Because he was in Haiti. And my dad wasn't the first one in the family to leave Haiti. But majority of the family left Haiti. And they each helped each other leave Haiti. Some are still there. But each and every month, like literally, more and more of my family has been coming to the country. And a lot of us are ambitious. A lot of us want more in life. A lot of us want that next stage, that next step. So I understand the opportunities there for us to combine and put our heads together in the future. whether it's 5 years from now, 10 years from now, even 15 years from now. As long as it happens at one point, I understand that the family can build something massive. The family can build something great. And I understand, and like this is like the video I did the other day. If you're afraid of asking for support, that's gonna be holding you back. And I'm not saying, oh, I'm gonna go and ask the family for support. But in that same sense, if I'm not willing to go and build something with the rest of the family, that'll make the process slower, harder, more difficult. Because it takes multiple people to build an empire. It's not just about a king. The king has to lead the right people to build the empire. And then he has to trust those people to continue to build other empires within the empire. It's like you have a massive company. There's a lot of little other companies. You look at Amazon is not just one company. There's a lot of different little companies inside of Amazon. Everything else, all of this stuff is important. You need to really strategically, systematically look at all this stuff and look at what is it going to take for you to get to your goals. And then for you to, if you're truly after generational wealth, to really truly build generational wealth. So, if you made it this far into the video, I hope what I've been saying has been making sense. Of course, feel free to question what I'm saying. Feel free to go against what I'm saying. But I really wanted to make this video so that you guys can really start to really have a different outlook with a lot of this stuff, because this is a part of being exceptional. This is a part of getting to that next level mentally, physically, financially, right? This is what it takes to become a winner. You need to start thinking about some of this stuff, right? You need to be thinking like, that chess piece, the chessboard, you need to be multiple moves ahead. And it's not just about you. It's about who else can you bring along on your team and your family. All of this stuff plays a role. Not family doesn't always get together. And a lot of people will tell you don't do business with family. But it's important as long as you're able to build that understanding. As long as you're the right leader to lead everybody else in the family. As long as you have the respect and the money to make it happen. It takes more than you think. But if you're willing to do it, you will do it and you will make it happen. So that's about it for this video, guys. If you're tired of your current situation, maybe you're tired of starting business after business and, seeing no clear success, or maybe you just want to be able to support the ones that you love and or make some extra money on the side for vacations, emergencies, etc. Make sure to subscribe and share this with a friend. And, this Saturday, we're going to be launching our community. And so stay tuned for that. And if we launched already this, and you're seeing this video after Saturday, you'll most likely find the link in the description. So that's it for this one, guys. I'll see you on the next one.